Point 1. Don't just follow the crowd, think for yourself. Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex, once said, "Well-trodden paths are not always the best." This phrase is a bit like saying, just because everyone else is doing it, doesn't mean it's right for you. Let's take a closer look at what he meant by this. Harry was born into the British royal family, which might seem like a dream come true. But it's a bit like being on a well-worn path. There are lots of rules to follow, and everyone expects you to act a certain way. But for Harry, this path was full of bumps and potholes, especially because of the constant attention from the media. When his mum, Princess Diana, died in a car crash, Harry blamed the paparazzi. This was a turning point for him. He started to question whether he wanted to stay on this well-trodden path. He tried different things to cope, like rebelling against the rules, trying out mind-altering substances, and even joining the military. But all these experiences, tough as they were, helped Harry figure out who he really is. He decided to step off the well-trodden path and make his own way. He fell in love, started a family, and chose to put their happiness first, even if it meant stepping back from his royal duties. This new path wasn't easy, but it was the right one for him. So, what Harry's story tells us is that just because a path is well-trodden, doesn't mean it's the best one for you. It's okay to question what's expected of you and to make your own choices. It takes courage to step off the beaten path, but it can lead to finding your own happiness. In other words, Harry's saying, don't be afraid to be yourself, even if it means going against the grain. It's a message that's not just about his own life, but a lesson for all of us about bravery, being true to yourself, and chasing your own happiness. Point 2. When you experience loss, that's when you really grow up. Childhood's over when sorrow hits. That's a powerful line from Prince Harry's memoir. It's a raw look at how his world changed when his mum, Princess Diana, died. Let's break it down. Harry was just a kid, 12 years old, when his mum died in a car crash. It wasn't just a family tragedy, it was a global one. Everyone loved Diana, the people's princess. So, Harry's heartbreak wasn't just his own, it was shared with millions of people. Losing a parent is tough for any kid. But for Harry, it was even harder because he's a royal. The royal family is known for being tough and sticking to the rules, even when things are really bad. This meant Harry had to hide his sadness and act like everything was okay, even though it wasn't. That's a big ask for anyone, let alone a kid. In his memoir, Harry talks about walking behind his mum's coffin at her funeral, a moment that was shown on TV all over the world. Even though he was surrounded by his family and thousands of people who were also sad, Harry felt alone. His dad, Prince Charles, wasn't really there for him emotionally. And things got worse when Harry started to think that his dad might have had something to do with his mum's death. This feeling got stronger when Charles introduced Harry and his brother to his new girlfriend, Camilla. All of this made Harry grow up really fast. The scary things from his childhood weren't make-believe monsters anymore, they were real-life tragedies. His happy, carefree childhood was replaced by sadness and loss. The safe bubble of childhood was gone, and Harry had to face the tough realities of being an adult. So, when Harry says, childhood's over when sorrow hits, he's talking about his own experience of growing up too fast because of his mum's death. It's a reminder that childhood isn't just about how old you are, it's about what you've been through. And sometimes, sadness can make you grow up before you're ready. Point 3. Even famous people can feel lonely. Even when millions of eyes are on you, you can still feel alone. This is a powerful sentiment that sums up Prince Harry's life as a royal, as he's shared in his own words. It's a strange contradiction, isn't it? Being watched by the world, yet feeling like no one really sees you. Harry's life has been a roller coaster. He's had his fair share of personal battles and rebellious moments, all of which were blown up by the media. His school grades took a hit because he was dealing with grief and other tough thoughts. He got a reputation as a bit of a troublemaker. He even dabbled in substances that mess with your mind and found himself in hot water more than once. The media loved it. They were always ready to jump on a juicy story. They followed Harry everywhere, ready to catch him slipping up. Stories about drug use, casual flings, and school struggles were all over the headlines. Some of these stories had a bit of truth to them, but they were often blown out of proportion. Others were just made up. All this attention and the pressure of being a royal made Harry feel lonely. He was born the spare to his older brother William, the heir. This basically means that his role was secondary, only important if something happened to his brother. This kind of family hierarchy made him feel like he didn't fit in and wasn't valued. His relationship with his brother was also tough. Sure, they had the usual brotherly squabbles, but they always had to act a certain way in public because of their royal status. This made their relationship complicated and made it hard for them to really connect. But it wasn't all bad. Sometimes, they'd sneak off to a private bar where they could just be regular guys. In these moments, Harry could see William as his brother and friend, not just the future king. So, what's the takeaway from Harry's story? It's that being in the public eye can be tough. You can feel incredibly alone, even when you're surrounded by people. It's especially hard for people who are born into roles they didn't choose, like being the spare in a royal family. Point 4. Sometimes, you gotta leave a bad situation to save yourself. Prince Harry's life has always been a bit like living in a fishbowl. Every move he made, every word he said, was picked apart by the media. It's no wonder he felt like he couldn't trust anyone, not even his own family. Imagine finding out that your dad and stepmom were actually benefiting from all the bad press you were getting. That's what happened to Harry. His dad, Prince Charles, and his stepmom, Camilla, were able to shift the spotlight away from their own controversial actions by letting Harry take the heat. But Harry's a good guy. Even though he knew his mom, Princess Diana, wasn't his dad's true love, he still wished his dad and Camilla happiness when they got married. That takes a lot of maturity and forgiveness. Still, all the betrayal and constant scrutiny got to him. He didn't want to play the royal game anymore, didn't want to live up to all those royal expectations. So, he did something unexpected, he joined the army. At the Royal Military Academy, Harry found a place where he fit in. He wasn't just a prince there, he was a soldier, just like everyone else. And he was good at it. He had the qualities of a military leader, and for the first time, he felt valued for who he was, not for his royal status. So, when you hear the phrase, "You have to leave the system to save yourself," think of Harry. He had to break free from the royal system that was causing him so much pain, to find his own way in life. And in doing so, he found a place where he could just be himself, free from all the royal expectations and scrutiny. Point 5. Life's a mix of fights and kindness. Prince Harry's life has been a wild ride, from soldier to charity worker. His words, "The sense of life is between war and charity," sum up his journey perfectly. Back in 2007, Harry was all set to go to Iraq. But the media wouldn't leave him alone, and the army bosses were worried he'd be a target. So, they sent him to Afghanistan instead. Over 6 years, he went from being a newbie to a seasoned pro, managing military planes and helicopters. Being at war was a strange experience for Harry. He felt small in the grand scheme of things, but also like he was doing something important. He found a sense of purpose in his service. The war zone became his safe place, where things like friendship, honor, and bravery were real and mattered. But Harry didn't just find a sense of purpose in the army. He also found it in Africa. He first visited the continent as a kid with his dad, and it left a lasting impression. Seeing the problems there, like droughts, poverty, and disease, made him want to help. He realized he was lucky and wanted to use his privilege to do some good. Harry's charity work focused on Lesotho, a country in South Africa. He set up the Sentabale Foundation, which means forget-me-not in the local language. It was a nod to his mum, as it was her favorite flower. Lesotho has a big HIV problem, with a quarter of its people, including kids, being HIV positive. But despite their tough lives, the kids were always smiling. This touched Harry and gave him a new sense of purpose. So, when Harry says, the sense of life is between war and charity, he's talking about his own life. From soldier to charity worker, his experiences have shaped his view of life and what it means to have a purpose. Point 6. Let's not repeat the same tragic mistakes. Prince Harry's life has been a roller coaster ride, filled with ups and downs. Born into the British royal family, he had all the privileges one could dream of. But, it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. He often felt alone and struggled to find his place in the world. The weight of his royal status was too much for his past girlfriends to handle. Then, he met Meghan Markle. It was love at first sight for Harry. Their first meeting happened to be on his late mom, Princess Diana's birthday. He was so smitten by Meghan that he invited her to Africa, a place close to his heart. Their bond grew stronger in Africa, and they knew they were meant to be together. Meghan was introduced to the royal family after their engagement. At first, everything seemed fine. But, things started to go downhill due to media scrutiny, jealousy, and family disputes. The media's constant attention on Meghan was hard for Harry. He couldn't bear the thought of losing another woman he loved to the media, just like his mom. He felt let down by his family's refusal to protect Meghan from the media. He thought a public statement from his dad or brother could have helped, but his requests were ignored. In 2020, Harry made a big decision. He chose to step back from his royal duties to protect Meghan. He chose love over duty, and personal happiness over royal obligations. The phrase, "a tragic story never to be repeated," sums up Harry's journey. It's a reminder of the sacrifices he made and his determination to protect his loved ones. It's a story of love, loss, and resilience. It shows his unwavering commitment to his family. Point 7. Conclusion. Living a life in the public eye is not as glamorous as it seems. It's a constant struggle to balance personal desires with public expectations. The key to surviving and thriving in such a situation is to stay true to oneself and one's values. It's important to remember that everyone has a right to their own life, privacy, and happiness, regardless of their status or position. Being born into royalty doesn't exempt one from the trials and tribulations of life. It's crucial to face challenges head-on and learn from them. It's also essential to use one's position to make a positive impact on the world. Life is about more than just fulfilling duties and responsibilities. It's about finding purpose, passion, and meaning. It's about making a difference in the world and leaving a lasting legacy. Remember, it's okay to step back and prioritize mental health and well-being. It's okay to choose happiness and peace over fame and fortune. It's okay to be spare. In the end, it's not about the titles, the wealth, or the fame. It's about being true to oneself, living a life of purpose, and making a positive impact on the world.